presentation. Sorry, I got a few of these today. This is the writing analysis presentation. What I did with this project, or this assignment, was I tried to use exit slips. So I was pretty much forced to use exit slips as the basis for their writing, because one of the things that I found out, particularly with the kids in my class, is that they just refuse to write. They do not want to write anything. Short answer questions on tests, they don't do it. If they do write anything for the short answers, they'll put one little blank, one little bullet point, just small little bits of information. It annoys me, and I know that they know how to write. I know they can write complete sentences, but it's something that they just refuse to do. The first day I came in class, they straight up told me, "I hope you don't expect us to write anything." And so I knew that we were off to a great start right then, because this assignment was kind of looming over my head at that point, and I was just ready to, I didn't know what to do at that point. So I tried a few different things. I tried to get them to fill out some KWL, some want to know, and learn sheets that would just kind of get them to write down a little bit of information about what they knew about a certain topic, what they wanted to learn, what they had learned about it afterwards. And I started off trying to give them credit for writing a paper for their learn section, just a one-page paper about something they found interesting, something they learned. Well, I got about 2 back. So seeing as how I only got about 2, I used that as kind of an extra credit assignment, moved on. Then I went to trying to use the tests and short answer questions, and like I say again, bullet points. I was taking off credit because I specifically say I need 2 to 3 sentences. They didn't want to write 2 to 3 sentences. So this coming up is what I ended up doing. This is an example of one of the exit slips that I use. So this is student 1, first off. And their 2 examples for the beginning were on World War I, interwar, and then the last one for each student was on World War II. So these came at the end of each unit, and what I did was, what this says is I was asking them to write 1 paragraph, 3 to 4 sentences, explaining something they found interesting about the unit or something they didn't quite understand and why they didn't quite understand it. So these 2 are from the same student. If you notice, or if you can tell from the first one, what they wrote about World War I, what they found interesting, is literally 2 bullet points, and they started for a third, but I guess they just decided too much work, too much writing. So they write, Lusitania was sunk, German U-boat introduced into the war. So I try to give them feedback and explain to them I really need complete sentences. I start at the very basic level. I try to make sure that they understand exactly what I'm looking for. So I'd say, please write complete sentences. Why was the Lusitania sunk? Why is it important? What is important about German U-boats being introduced into the war? Because I know that they understand that these items are connected, and that this is one big topic, one general idea. The Lusitania was sunk by German U-boats. But I want them to focus their attention and get me sentences explaining why the Lusitania sunk and how it was sunk. The second one, they come in, and this was on the interwar period. So what they write is, I learned the war gave way to the League of Nations, and that it was not created or something like that. So they write a complete sentence. All right, so that's good. So I'll write down here that I like their information. I thank them for using complete sentences, but I also try to tell them to separate their ideas. Right here's a little slash mark because it's one idea, an and symbol, and then another completely separate idea. So I'm trying to explain to them, use their periods, separate their information, and give me at least one more sentence. So that's what the bottom down here is saying. Wrap up your information by giving me a complete wrap-up sentence. So that's the things I'm trying to do. So this is an example of student 1. So hopefully you can see a little bit of improvement, at least motivation, due from the bullet point answers to actual complete sentences for this one. Next we're going to go to student 2. And what student 2 has done is pretty much the same thing. And that's why I chose both of these 2, because their work was about the same way, and it was consistent with the majority of the class. So for this one, for World War I, they write, Treaty of Versailles ended World War I. That's it. That's all they give me. It's barely 3 or 4 words, more or less 3 or 4 sentences. So I tell them I like to start off with good, positive feedback, just like we do our feedback in our class. So I say, thanks for the info. Give me some more information and use complete sentences next time. So this might have been one where I was just about tired of reading these things, and I didn't write as much as I should have possibly, but still tried to explain to them I need complete sentences when it asks for complete sentences, and I know what your information is. I appreciate it, but what else did the Treaty of Versailles do? What else happened at the end of World War I? Give me some more information. So the bottom one, again, they say the League of Nations had no military. It was considered too weak and replaced by the United Nations. All right, so this one, they give me 2 sentences. I'm ecstatic at this point. I'm so excited. You gave me 2 sentences. That's great. So I write and I tell them, this is much better. You have 2 sentences that are related. You focused on one major topic. I'm excited about this, but still, give me a little bit more detail, just a little bit more. Like 1 more sentence is not too much to ask when you've already given me 2. You can wrap it up. Put something down there for me. All right, so the last slide here, or the next to last slide, is the final example for Student 1 and Student 2. So both of these pertain to the World War II unit. And so what you see and what they've given, or what I've shown them, is that they're both writing me complete sentences. They've almost filled up the entire section that I've given them to fill out this information. And the main thing that I've started to focus on now is grammar. I'm trying to make sure that their T's are T double O's instead of TO's if they're talking about too much of something. I'm trying to make sure that they spell things properly. They're trying to use big words now, therefore, but they spell it wrong. That's fine though. You can correct spelling a lot easier than you can correct aphorism. So both of them have some good information. They're focused on the major topic, or the topic at hand, what they found interesting. They give me 3 things. The one that I like down here was this first student who started off with 1 bullet point on their very first slide and goes into the Holocaust was the Nazi genocide of the Jews. So they give me some key topics, some key words, show that they understand what's going on. Over 1 million Jews were killed, and then they were forced to wear armbands and display tattoos to show that they were Jewish. So that, to me, starting off at the Treaty of Versailles ended World War I, shows marked improvement over what they had been doing in class previously. They've given me 3 sentences like I asked for, be it all that it's the bare minimum of what I'm asking. I'm not the one who sits there and does an overachiever all the time myself. So I'm happy at this point with 3 sentences. They focused on one topic again, and so I'm telling them this is great. It's much better than the previous attempts. There are multiple sentences focusing on one main topic, and you're telling me about exactly what happened. I'm telling them good job. This student up here, although they still have written some sentences, their grammar's still bad, and they're still focused on maybe about the 2-sentence section. They're not going to go over that point. But they're also focusing their attention a lot more. Every time I see it, more and more and more focused on what they're trying to do. And from what I understand and from what I know about SOL testing, SAT testing later on, they're not so much going to grade you on completion as much as making sure that the information you have down is accurate, that it's grammatically correct. So I can take a little bit less information for making sure that they've written something down, that they know what they're talking about, and that they know how to phrase their information and put it up together. All right, so finally, in conclusion, what I like to say is that the examples show that they first really didn't either want to or didn't know how to compose a writing sample. They just were not used to it, and like I had mentioned previously, they started off in class, and pretty much every single class did the same thing. I hope you don't expect us to do any writing this semester. So at that point, I freaked out a little bit. Each of them progressively got better until the final sample, and while, again, their final work is not perfect, it's not exactly what I'm looking for, it's not college-level material, they're not expected to be. They're 10th grade students. So what I'm looking at is that although they haven't reached that level that I expect of them or that would be expected of an AP class, they are, the middle and lower rung of the students of the school, to be quite frank. And, anything that's over bullet points is a lot better for me. So I look at this and think that, I feel better about myself that I at least have gotten them or forced them to get some type of writing down so that I know that they know how to do it, and that if someone asks them later down the road 3 or 4 sentences, they know what's expected and what they should be doing to answer those questions.